Hi, my name is Sherry, and I'm the co-founder of Peak. We're an AI-powered personal finance platform that helps you track, manage, and grow your net worth. Today I'm going to be talking to you about a concept called finertia, or personal finance inertia. We have all been there before, including myself, where we know that there's something that is good for us to do, right? Like exercise, right? We know that it's good for us, it's good for our long-term health. We make all these elaborate plans of like, I'm gonna hit the gym 6 times a week and I'm gonna hit this goal. But then I never do it, right? And just getting that, habit started is so hard. Within personal finance, that happens too. I would say most times people understand that knowing where things are, where you're spending your money, how you're investing, how to change your investments if there are things that are not going the way you want, we all kind of know conceptually that it's good for us, right? But most people actually don't do any form of tracking. And a lot of people, if you were to ask them,
hey, what is going on with your finances?
Or
what is your current net worth?
Or asset holdings or all of that, a lot of people will look at you and say,
I have no idea.
Right? But it's not like they don't necessarily need that information to make decisions. Like that's something that people do understand. So what is happening here? A lot of it is because personal finance actually should be viewed from an emotional versus just a functional perspective, right? There's just a lot of things that need to be in there to kickstart a new habit. Habit formation is one of the most difficult things to do as a human, right? We're just so bound to our routines. And so that's why they say it takes, 21 days to break a habit by, thinking about it, doing something, actioning on it every single day and having those, actions and that discipline compound over that time. Same thing with just show up to the gym for 10 minutes, do whatever it is you want to do, and just show up, right? Don't have to do the hardest thing, right? But just show up consistently for a month, and then actually that makes a huge difference. So I'm going to share a couple of tips around how to deal with inertia when it comes to personal finances. I think the very first thing is just show up. Just start and do something small. I think one of the challenges when we're starting a new habit or doing something new, we have like these grand plans, right? We're like we're like too aspirational. We're looking at the people who have already done something well for a while, and then we're like, let's try to replicate it. But that's where we're gonna set ourselves up for failure, right? When we don't have a new habit created, it's hard to take the 90% of it and replicate that when we should just start with the 10%. So I tell people, right, if you are afraid of investing, you have cash sitting around in your bank account, don't try to come up with a, 10-part portfolio strategy, right? Thinking of alternatives, thinking about crypto, thinking of all of that. I would suggest just do something very simple. Just start looking into index funds. Basically, things like ETFs that basically track the broader market, right? Just find a few, or even just one that is highly popular, and just start putting a small percentage of your income in it. And just start there. Just start small, right? And just show up. The second one is find as many ways to just automate things. And that's where actually our product Peak, as well as some of the other ones in the US like Monarch Money or Kubera, that's where they come into play because they can automate things by creating direct account integrations with your brokerages or exchanges, so you don't have to copy and paste your monthly balances and your holdings into the spreadsheet, which again takes like 30 minutes to an hour, which might not seem like that long of a time, but it is just not fun to do. And a lot of people just don't do it because it's not fun. Our human brain survives off dopamine hits, and we don't get very many dopamine hits by manually updating a spreadsheet. So finding a way to automate things, whether it's through a software product or macros that you're building in your spreadsheet or something else, right? Like just find a way to take away some of the administrative burdens, because that will at least make you feel less bad and more motivated to do something. The next thing I'll talk about is reduce your decision fatigue and break things into different steps. So let me explain this. So let's say that you're trying to decide what to do with this lump sum of money that you're trying to invest in, and let's say that you want to do something a little bit more involved than just S&P. You're like, okay, maybe some S&P and maybe some stocks, right? Now, there's actually multiple steps of that decision, and you may not have the patience to make it all at one time. So one thing you can do by reducing your fatigue is actually set some reminders that break the steps out into different parts, right? So you set one reminder, let's say for Sunday in 2 weeks, to make a decision around how much you're going to put into ETFs and individual stocks, right? You do a little bit of research, you talk to some friends, that's what you're doing that Sunday. And then you can put another calendar reminder for yourself just on Google Calendar in 2 weeks to look at which brokerages or which platforms you can use to buy these, right? So you're separating out different steps of that decision so you don't do it all at once, so it feels more manageable. And you have the reminders to kind of prompt you. And then maybe 2 weeks later, you actually execute the trade, or 1 week later, right? Depending on what you want to do. So this is something that has worked for me, right? I have decision fatigue. I mean, I've been investing for a long time, but I'm still human. So separating things out, separating those decisions out to reduce fatigue has worked for me really, really well. And then the next thing I'll talk about is have a consistent strategy. Now, this is where automation kind of bleeds into the strategy versus just the execution side of things. It's a good idea to generally, over time, decide on a target allocation for your portfolio that you want to have, and don't actually change it that much. Studies have actually shown that just being consistent, sticking to a playbook, and not being swayed too much by market sentiment actually led to better results and a little bit more peace of mind for somebody, right? So one thing you can do is just stick to an allocation and then dollar cost average or invest the same amount consistently into this allocation every single month when you get your paycheck. So just very simply put, if you have, let's say 80% in ETFs and then 20% in treasury bonds, you just do this every single month. And you don't have to think or remake a decision, you just follow this consistently for a while. So personal finance inertia or finertia is something that really does happen to everybody. And so instead of like blaming yourself or, saying all sorts of things around,
I'm lazy, I'm forgetful, I'm not motivated.
I said all those things to myself, don't get me wrong. Whenever you feel that way, just know that you are human and that there are things that you can do to just make some of this more seamless, easier, and just more enjoyable to do. Thank you.